Today is March 29th, 2026. And 19 years ago this week, we had our very first Sunday service at Unity in Naperville. Yes, we did. And part of our process together over the years is that we've created a statement that says, this is why we're here. This is why we came together. This is what we plan to do when we're together. This is our reason for being. And we call that our mission statement. So up here on the screen, would you say this with me, please? We are a vibrant, inclusive community. Look at you. For personal growing and joyful knowing of our oneness with Spirit and each other. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And today, I want us to look at this statement and ask ourselves, are we living it? Is there anything that I could be doing right now in the community, inside our four walls, to make sure that I'm supporting that mission statement? And ask the question, what is mine to do? What is mine to do to help demonstrate our reason for being here? And I am going to grab some more trees from our forest of dreams over there that you helped to create that will point a way for us to be able to do that fully and freely. And the first couple of trees I want us to look at this morning are about self-confidence and authenticity. And sometimes the last thing you want in a community is somebody with a great big ego, right? But what if authenticity and self-confidence was being driven from our spirit, since this is a spiritual community, rather than our human ego? And that means that we own our identity as a spiritual being. That is who we are. That is why we're here, is to find our authenticity in the Christ consciousness within us. That is something that we're called to do every minute of our life, not just here when we gather together in this room, but a realization, I am spirit, I am a unique expression of spirit, of the divine, and my call is to be here and be a full and complete expression of that. Now, no easy task, right? And I think one of the reasons that we show up here on Sundays is to remind ourselves of how to fulfill that task in our daily life. So thank you for that. One of the things I wanted to do, kind of in honor of our anniversary, is go back to our founders. Especially today, we're going to listen to what Myrtle Fillmore has to say. She's one of our co-founders. And here's what she says. She says, the spark of the divine image is within, capable of unfolding the wonderful Christ qualities and carrying the potential of perfect mind, body, and affairs. The spiritual truth is that you are God's own beloved child, and God is ever giving you his own wisdom, love, power, life, and substance. Wow. That's power packed in you. Yes? Yes. And so that's how we stand in our authenticity and our self-confidence, is knowing that truth about ourselves. And when we look at our mission statement, we were talking about part of our work here is for personal growing. That means getting to know your spiritual self, taking some time to sit quietly and turn within and quiet the busyness of the human mind and ask ourselves, what does it mean to be an expression of the Christ? How might I live that? Think about the qualities of God. What did she say? Wisdom, love, power, life, and substance. Think on those things, sing about those things, and then become those things, just one thing at a time. I love how Paul wrote to the Philippians. He said, think of yourselves the way Christ Jesus thought of himself. Or it's also translated, let the same mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus. How dare we? I really hope we do. I really hope we do, because that is our salvation, is to realize that there's only one presence and it's expressing in me. And part of this practice is turning away from the material so much, not being so concerned about, whether my bills are paid, but who is the source of my good. It's turning away from whether I'm in control, whether I'm popular, whether I'm good looking today, whether I've colored my hair. My bathroom is a disaster. But could I grow and stretch even more? Could I find a way to step into one of those divine qualities today and be an expression of that? Could I learn something new? about my spiritual qualities? Could I learn something new about the world around me? All of that is personal growing that we've signed up for. And one of the things that I love, I don't think I've ever quoted here, maybe I have. Psalm 17:15. I shall be satisfied when I awake with your likeness. I shall be satisfied when I awake with the awareness that I am the expression of the Christ. That's another big, goal that we set for ourselves here, to just keep striving into that reality and that identity. Also, when we're looking at our mission statement and talking about knowing our oneness with each other, I looked at these trees that are labeled bonds and family. And I don't know about you, I grew up in a family of 7 with 4 other siblings. And in this experience, I left home second. I was the middle child. I left home second. I was at the age of 20. And even at the age of 20, I had already sensed separation in my family. I had 2 older siblings, 2 younger siblings. My parents were in their whatevers, can't remember. But we all tended to have different points of view about life. And there was a feeling of, I'm here on my own in this house. As we become grown-up adults and we move out, we might have family close by within driving distance, and we still feel far away because we just don't have whatever in common. Can you relate to that? You see things differently? So one thing that Myrtle said, I think she knew something about families. I won't have it on the screen, so just listen to my lilting voice. If God has given you a light that your dear ones do not care to walk by, He's given it to you that you may make it so clear, so all-revealing, that it will become an illumination in the home. Not by throwing affirmations at your family or through superiority over family. Do the thing, and the thing will testify of itself. One joyful presence in a home will drive out every grumble. One peaceful presence will clear the house of discord. One presence of content will banish the specter of unrest. Can you be that one presence? Can you know that truth about yourself and let the chips fall where they may? According to Myrtle, it has an effect. Being the change. What does he say? Mahatma Gandhi. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Be the change, and it starts to have an effect on those around us. Set an intention to be a support to the group by being the truth that you know, not throwing it at them or pushing it down their throat. But just be love, and you will see love actually call to the others around you. That saying that a rising tide raises all boats is also said way back in the scripture. If I, Jesus says, be lifted up, I draw all men to me. When we raise that spiritual principle of love, it brings up everybody around us. We don't have to teach or preach anything, we just be. That's a way that we participate in a sense of oneness with each other. Also, looking at this tree here, community care, is a way that we know our oneness. That we sense that we're in a community, and it can be all kinds of community. You can be in millions of communities at the same time. Notice that and ask yourself, what is mine to do to care for the group? Here's what Myrtle says. Think of all people as abiding in God's presence and expressing God's qualities. Then you will teach the reality of individuals and invite only the best for them. Though some have not yet wakened to this realization, as you declare the truth for them and expect it to express through them toward you, you will receive only loving and considerate treatment from them. Now look at that. Notice that statement, as you declare the truth for them. Think about the difference between that and as you declare the truth to them. That's very different. Again, we're not talking about teaching. We're simply at home, by ourselves, holding them in our heart and declaring the truth for them, knowing that they too are spiritual beings, knowing that they too have the mighty wisdom, the divine power, the creative nature, that all giving presence of love within them as well. See that for them. And just notice if anything changes. But most importantly, what that idea is, it's about changing you. It's about changing how you see them so that you don't have the need to change or fix or grumble or complain, but to see them and call it out, knowing it for them. That's how we come to know and care for the community around us. We kind of call it up into the most hopeful idea that we can hold in our heart. Can you do that? Here's an affirmation that I think is something that softens our hearts and creates an intention. Can we say this together, please? I am one with my community, and we share one heart. That is the truth from every way that you look at it. Okay, another tree that helps us with our oneness includes trees of compassion and kindness. And as Myrtle said, as we think of others as God's children, we see them in a new light. We understand how it is that they're trying to unfold and use the faculties and powers God has implanted in them. And we have compassion if they seem to fall short at times. We also have power to know the truth of them, to bless them, and to help them. So this is about, first of all, knowing they have a bad day, I've had a bad day. Doesn't change who they are, doesn't change what I am. We're still spiritual beings expressing, and the longer and more deeply I can hold that idea of love for them through compassion and kindness. How many of you seen the series The Chosen? Okay, so you know that the disciple, when the disciple Philip comes on the scene, Philip used to be working for John the Baptist, and John the Baptist sent him to start working for Jesus. Do you remember that part? And did you notice what happened when he started interacting with Matthew, who had been a tax collector, and none of the other disciples liked Matthew? But suddenly Philip comes on the scene, and he is all about encouragement, 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 kindness, compassion, calling out Matthew's good qualities. And it had such an effect on Matthew, and he mentioned it out loud. Your encouragement, your compassion, especially if it's something that this person has not seen in a while, will truly make a difference and lift them up. This is how we come to know our oneness with each other, is to feel and know and want for them and do what is ours to do to help lift them up. And not only knowing our oneness with each other, but also our oneness with spirit. I'm looking at this tree that says everything matters. Myrtle says unity of spirit, and you know what? She's not talking about unity, the organization here. Unity of spirit conquers the world, and nations will forget to fight if we continue to know that all people express one life. When we find that there's only one presence, the real presence of infinite goodness, we find no place for the opposite quality. Why does it all matter? Why does everything matter? Because it's all God. Because there's only God. If we leave anything out, if we shun anything, if we decide that's not worthwhile, not good enough, then we're basically saying God is not good enough for me, which separates us from God itself. In consciousness can't ever be separated from God. But this is a chance for us to consider whatever we see, there's still the presence, and it's expressing uniquely for a reason. Give it room. Allow it to be that beautiful expression. And it will lift us if we turn the right cheek, if we open the right heart to that experience, to that connection with one another. So as we've covered these trees, we've been talking about ways for us to be a light in the world, to live our mission statement, to keep remembering that the presence of light is within us, and I'm here to be that. And let's go back to our mission statement here. This next half of the message I want to talk about, do I have something myself that needs growing? Do I have something myself that needs learning? And I had an opportunity for personal growing this week, and it's just beautiful how I'm working on a message and somehow Spirit dumped something in my lap. You know, when I think about how long this was on my calendar, and then I realized that it just intertwined so beautifully with what we're talking about today, that's the way Spirit works. So, as a Unity minister, I am expected to continue receiving continuing education units for my licensing as a minister. And this week, I attended a webinar with probably another 50 ministers, hearing and learning from Reverend Kelly Kincaid, who is the minister at Unity, that's funny, Unity of Farmington Hills, outside of Detroit. And she was helping us to examine some ways to create safe, loving community where everyone feels accepted, part of, one with, heard, valued. And the reason she was speaking is because she and her congregation have created what they call critical conversations, where regularly they meet and give people a chance to talk about unjust, unequal, and unloving experiences in the world, maybe that they've had personally or they watched about on TV. And it's a chance in a safe space to share thoughts, to listen to one another, to consider, is there something for me to do here? Is there something for me to fix here in myself in order to address what's happening? Am I part of the problem, or am I going to make the way for God in this situation? They, in their critical conversations, they start with an affirmation up here on the screen. They say, "We are grateful to be a part of a growing fellowship of diverse, open-minded, loving individuals with a shared sense of service and commitment to the healing and transformation of our country, communities, and congregations." That's pretty powerful, yes? Yes. So, Reverend Kelly took us through 4 practices that you might be familiar with. Anybody know what DEIB stands for? Does anyone know what the D stands for? Diversity. What does the E stand for? Equity. What does the I stand for? Inclusion. And what does the B stand for? See, this is relatively new. Belonging. Belonging, yes. And so we started walking through these practices together. And, you know, when you hear DEIB, literally people refer to it as DEIB, they're talking about it in corporations, you know, in workplaces. And you might be thinking, well, what's that got to do with me here on a Sunday morning or in my personal life? What can I do? I'm not leading a corporation. I'm not hiring people. I'm not making laws. But I promise you that this idea is useful in fulfilling our mission statement. It's useful in our personal lives in every day of our lives. If you look at that mission statement, do we still have that on the screen here? Vibrant, inclusive community for personal growing, joyful knowing of our oneness with Spirit and each other. Does that not call for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging? It kind of speaks it in itself. So I'm going to offer a few things that I learned this week that we can all do in our individual lives, in our spiritual community lives, basically from now until the day we die. These are things that we can do to assure this sense of community in our lives. First of all, everybody knows, well, I don't know if they know how, but they have the ability to listen. Listen more deeply, without the need to correct or change or even weigh in. Listen more deeply and try and hear what's going on that maybe you have missed in the past, especially when you're in a group of diverse people. And when we think about what diversity is, I probably could have explained that a little bit better. Diversity is that idea that you have created a space in your life where you are around people who are different from you, so that everybody, basically every form of human being, can be together in a group and be treated as valued and worthy, important in our lives. Equity, we talk about, is just making sure that there is an opportunity for fair treatment and for all the good stuff to be available to all people. When we talk about inclusion, we're talking about making sure that everybody gets a chance to weigh in, everybody's voice is heard, everybody's voice matters, and belonging is basically just, is everyone here feeling secure in themselves, to be themselves, and to feel respected and accepted for who they are? So when we talk about doing this on our own, listening helps us notice what's going on around me that's diverse, and what am I being called to do in that moment to consider something new. We also have a chance for ourselves when we share to be honest, to be vulnerable. Usually when we get into a situation where we're around people that are different, we tend to kind of clam up or tell a different story so that we make sure that we're safe. But what if you were honest enough to say, you know what, I really don't know what's acceptable here. I don't know what to say in this situation. Be honest and let others' hearts be open with you and take it from there. Something that we all can do is take more time to review ourselves. Do you remember the tragedy when George Floyd was killed? And we had a chance to really go deep within ourselves and ask, am I carrying around unconscious bias that needs to be looked at? Is there something in me that creates a sense of separation or judgment or withholding from people of color? So, same thing, we can be doing that all the time. Notice our own unconscious bias in any situation where I'm in a diverse group of people or not, and ask myself, what needs to be released here? What needs to be better informed here? There's also a chance for us to notice those moments when something uncomfortable has been said, and it's just a whole lot easier to keep the peace and make everybody happy and don't get into arguments. Don't talk about it, for heaven's sakes. That's actually missing an opportunity to grow. It's missing an opportunity to open up and give everyone a chance to be heard. So instead of avoiding talking, instead of grabbing hold of silence because it's more comfortable, I'll show you how to do this in a minute. I'm going to also ask you to notice if you're carrying out a tradition or a habit in your life that gets in the way of new things being brought in. Churches are great for that. You know, how many times have you offered to do something and someone in a church says, we don't do it that way, or we tried it that way and it doesn't work. Please call me out on that if I ever say that. I'm sure I'll have a really good reason. And then call me out on that, okay? Okay, yeah. Here's another thing. Put yourself in diverse situations. Most of us hang out with our peeps, the ones we know, the ones that are like us. Give yourself an opportunity to go see a foreign film, to hang out in a foreign restaurant, to go to a concert of some kind of entertainment that is not your shtick, so that you can see what else is going on in the world around you. And when you're in conversation with people, this is a chance for us to notice if one person is doing more talking and another person is really quiet. There's almost always at least one quiet person in a conversation. What if we took that opportunity to give room for them, to even offer room to them to share any thoughts that they might have? Not about coercing them or embarrassing them, but simply saying, is there anything you'd like to say about this? And if not, fine. But at least help them feel safe in offering, because sometimes people are not used to talking because it's never been acceptable for them to talk, right? Okay, so watch for those moments, encourage, and also don't interrupt if they do talk. And don't let others interrupt. You actually have the ability to do that. You know what? I'd like to hear what they have to say first, and then we can come back to you, okay? See, that's easy, right? Yeah, nobody's going to pull out a strong arm on that. All right, help find out what's in common with people that you're getting to know. Instead of the silent judge sits back here and says, I don't do that. That's not good. That's different. Instead of that, it's like, what do you like to do? And then say, oh, I like that too. Get to know each other and emphasize what you do have in common. These are things that every individual can do in life every day of the week. And it always helps to make sure that you are actually in the presence of other people, to get out there in the world and interact, connect with people unlike you. Now, at one point in our training this week, we got together in small groups and were given a case study. Those are always fun. They give you a case study and say, what would you do in this situation? Now, I think they were talking to us as ministers, like we have power or something, but I actually think this could be done by you in any situation where you're with a bunch of different people. And this I literally heard said by various white people, and I myself thought these thoughts, okay? They are saying, a white person, this is like right after George Floyd was killed, and we were having these conversations. Somebody, a white person, proudly said, I don't see color. I treat everyone the same. I think focusing on race creates more division. Can you relate to that? Nobody dares nod their head. My hunch is you probably heard someone say that or you thought that yourself. Yes? Yeah, I kind of was proud about it. That, color is not the first thing that I see. I see person, we interact, we go on. Okay, so first of all, when you hear something like that, simple steps here. See if you can encourage a pause for a moment in the conversation. Can we just take a moment and just say nothing? Just let it kind of land. Be quiet. Acknowledge what was said. And then maybe ask that person for clarity. Say again, and how did you come to that? And tell me more about that. So that you really know where they're coming from. And then point it out as, you know what? I think this is an opportunity for us to grow, to evolve a little bit more, and to hear what everyone in our group has to say. Because one of the things that was noticed when this was said was that there were people of color in the conversation, and they felt uncomfortable. You could see that they felt uncomfortable by it. So we went through those steps. We had our own points of view. We all came back together as a group, and we started sharing what some of those points of view were. And one person said, I felt like, and she was white, by the way, I felt it would be helpful if that person did see color, to experience life in a different way, to open them up to our differences and celebrate them, celebrate that diversity. And someone of color said, I feel like that statement dismisses my personal experience that I've had to go through as a person of color by not seeing my color, by not recognizing what my life has been like. And it's hard to belong in a situation like that, isn't it? It's hard for a person to feel like they belong if they're not seen. Yes? Okay? Not included is probably more prominent when you're not open to my differences. I feel not included when you're not open to my differences. And somebody else just said, you know what, I just think we still have a whole lot of work to do in this area. And I think we all agreed with that. So what I knew from that initial statement, having thought those thoughts myself, was I love everybody. And I don't feel a sense of resistance to anyone. That was a heartfelt experience for me. But what I didn't see at the time was that I was cutting off an opportunity to feel and connect and understand the depth of their own life experiences in such a way that I'm really honoring their diversity. That I'm learning and I'm seeing how way much further we have to go to be able to make space for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. I understand that there are certain governors in our country that won't even let you put these up in your office places. It's illegal to do that. So the churches were saying to the other churches who were in that state, saying, put them up anyway. Do it anyway. But we're getting funding. Take the funding. Don't put it on your website, but do it anyway. All right, well, you get the gist, right? You get the gist that it's still ours to do. We've still got a long way to go. I hope we know that there is still work to truly understand. And we can't do that if we don't know our oneness with each other by doing our own personal growing. Now, what I just went through with you guys could feel like a lot for you to take on personally all by yourself. So we can do this in baby steps. And maybe what you want to do is have a conversation with a group of people who are just like you. Okay? No threats. Nobody's going to really think anything badly of you. Get into a group just like you. And then ask these questions up here on the screen. What does it mean to be diverse? Have that conversation. Just see where everybody lands on that page. You might learn something. Or what does it mean to be not diverse? What are the goods and the shoulds and the things that get missed when we're not diverse? The next question, what did you grow up learning about diversity, and how has it influenced the way you interact with those who are different from you? So what did you grow up learning? How has it influenced you, and you're still interacting that way with those who are different? And thirdly, how can you improve the way you interact with people who are different from you? If we can identify something within ourselves that still needs to be improved on. And my little list that I shared with you today is just a teeny tiny fraction of the kinds of things that we can do. And if this is something that interests you, tell me. Just share your name with me and say, I'd like to have more conversations around this. We have books we can study. We have documentaries we can watch. We have all kinds of ways to deepen and broaden our understanding of who we all are. So just let me know. Maybe somebody can find a piece of paper out there and start a sign-up list for me, okay? Now, I want us to finish with this affirmation. Let's say it together first up here on the screen. Together. I co-create a community where all belong. Now, notice the words co-create, so you're not just 100% responsible, but you're willing to share in the responsibility of creating community where everyone feels a sense of belonging. And here's your homework. What's one thing you would do or change to co-create a community where all belong? That is your homework this week. Find one thing that you would do, and the word is would do, will do, or change to co-create a community where all belong. And it might just create a community of two. Just start with yourself and someone else who's different from you and start your work there, okay? How's that feel? Yeah, that was a lot. You probably weren't signed up for that today, were you? I'd love to kind of surprise you. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being open. Thank you for being part of a community that is seeking personal growing and knowing of our oneness with each other and spirit. Let's take some time in the quiet and see if we can't find this experience with spirit. Will you take a moment to just relax? Let's forget everything you've just heard for a moment and bring your attention to the chair that you're sitting on. And allow your body to lean into it completely. Feet on Mother Earth, feeling her support. Bring your attention down to your heart. Imagining that heart as a doorway. Where your thoughts and God thoughts are one. As As that door opens, you feel a blast of love flow out. And in the presence of that love, you feel your whole being relax. I am always in this presence. In this moment, I know this presence as complete, unconditional acceptance of who I am. And I relax. And I give thanks. So glad to know I am always one with this love. And as I sense the life of this presence in and through me, I feel it spreading beyond my body, that I go with it out beyond the confines of this body into the room around me, sensing not only the presence, but all beings here and how they are being the presence. I open my heart to those beings and feel their unique expression, full of light and love and creativity. I just rest here in the midst of this broad and rich expression of the divine. As I meet each one of you in spirit, smiles light our hearts. And we link arms, the arms of spirit that are eternal. And we turn our hearts outward beyond this building. And in a circle, we grow and expand, being carried by this one presence, further out into the community, in this town, in this state, in this country, feeling this presence, now expressing in more and more wonderful ways. I feel hearts opening and recognition of light in each being. A joy to meet for the first or the millionth time. Hearts meeting hearts, and yet only one heart. And we join together in a greater circle with our hearts facing out as we spread across the planet, gathering in millions and billions of others, all expressing the one presence. With each new heart we meet, we recognize it. We see its beauty and diversity. We fold it into our own heart. We're grateful to grow and learn to witness and to experience the beautiful variety of the one presence. Feeling connected to every life on this planet and allowing that presence of love to touch, to soothe, to heal. Seeing each heart for its own unique sense of self, while seeing one heart that beats within us all. We co-create a community of belonging. So grateful to know there is great beauty here. There is great potential here. There is great life here. I'm enthused and grateful to be one with the one and one with the all. This is already the truth of my being. Today, now, and always, I allow it to be. And so it is.